you like dinosaurs? I like dinosaurs. Welcome to Parkasaurus. In this game, your task is to travel through time and space to collect fossils and ignore the teachings of the entire Jurassic Park franchise in order to curate and manage a zoo full of living, breathing dinosaurs. Also, the dinosaurs are aliens! Yeah, I don't know, just roll with it. In this video, I'm not only going to assemble a Dino Park, I'm going to play in Dinosaur Tycoon Mode and assemble the absolute best Dino Park ever created, subject to opinion. The goal of Tycoon Mode is to attract 300 guests to our park and achieve a Dino Appeal rating of 50,000 points. That shouldn't be too hard, right? Right? To start, I had nothing to my name, save for $7,500, a single Stegosaurus egg, and this big ol' empty lot. You might look at this lot and see a dumping ground for broken cars that no one can be bothered to repair. But I prefer to think of it as a blank canvas, waiting for my first brushstroke to bring about a lush and vibrant landscape. That said, we do need to clean up all these cars. Good thing I had my tetanus shot recently. Once that was done, I went ahead and built our first exhibit. Then I placed a donation bin, bought a hot dog truck, set up some decorations, hired a few staff members, ordered some food, hatched my Stegosaurus egg. Go. Our first dinosaur, Romy. What a baby. And then our park was ready for customers. Of course, going to a big empty lot in the middle of nowhere just to gawk at a lone animal in the glass box doesn't sound too appealing, even if the animal in question is a dinosaur. So let's add more dinosaurs! I went to my office and consulted the Dino book. It said that I should add a second Stegosaurus and 2 Triceratops to my park. That sounds like a good start. However, in Parkasaurus, you can't just buy a dinosaur and add it to your park. You have to go on an expedition, wait a few minutes, play this digging minigame to collect some fossils, buy a gem from the gem shop, go out on another expedition because you don't have enough Triceratops fossils, and then you can go to the barn and trade everything in for an egg that will hatch into the dinosaur of your choice. Let us give a massive round of applause to this chicken, who will be mothering just about every single attraction in my park. She's got a lot of work ahead of her. As I was gathering fossils, I went ahead and improved the Stegosaurus pen by filling it with pine trees, rocks, and flowers, making it more reminiscent of a rainforest, which is the natural habitat of both the Stegosaurus and the Triceratops. Wait, do rainforests have pine trees in them? I don't know. At the start of my second day on the job, I received my first quest. Apparently, our portal accidentally connected us to an alternate reality where the entire world is made of hot dogs. And now we have a surplus of 15 hot dogs that we need to sell. Wait, seriously? You're telling me that we found a world that was nothing but hot dogs, and we only brought back 1.5 packs of wieners? Fortunately, I already bought a hot dog truck, so I did not need to do anything. Once I had accumulated sufficient funds and fossils, I went to the barn, got the chicken to lay some dinosaur eggs, made the glass box larger, added more dinosaurs to it, and named it the Forest of Hope. No particular reason, it was just the first name that came to my mind. Also, I hired a lady named Wall to stand here and enlighten the guests by giving presentations on all of her wild conspiracies in the form of interpretive dance. I built another glass box. Then I gave the ground of that box a thick coat of mud. I didn't cover the whole exhibit because I ran out of money. And I kinda went off script and got a woolly mammoth named Theo. Now, I'm sure that last statement probably left you thinking something along the lines of, Pratt, why does your dinosaur zoo have a woolly mammoth? Woolly mammoths aren't dinosaurs, they're mammals. Extinct mammals, but mammals. Why did your woolly mammoth just hatch from an egg? Exactly how big was the chicken that laid it? Well, I can't explain the chicken bit, but these mammoths are part of the Prehistoric Wonders expansion, which adds several species of prehistoric animals that a 4-year-old could probably tell are not dinosaurs. So why are they here? Honestly, I don't have a good answer and I don't really care. I just wanted woolly mammoths. Once I got some more cash, I finished terraforming the mammoth exhibit into a birch-covered tundra, which I have dubbed the Ancient Hills. Also, I got a billboard. I built more pathways, hung up some lights, put down some random decorations. You know, to make the place look less like an empty lot that happens to have dinosaurs. I also added outhouses. The thing with outhouses is that, well, they stink. And people generally don't like being reminded of the fact that bathrooms exist unless they need one. So I installed a few outhouses in this empty space off to the side. That way, you won't need to get anywhere close to them if you don't desperately need to eject your bowels. After all of that, I decided that Theo the mammoth needed a mate. So I bought another mammoth egg and placed it in the ancient hills. Done! Except Theo is a male mammoth, and the mammoth inside of this egg is also male, which means that they cannot mate. There is a solution to this problem that doesn't involve getting a chicken to lay eggs much larger than its entire body, but for right now, we're just going to let them be. Now, what's the next item on the list? Well, I got this oviraptor egg from the Dino book. Oviraptors prefer to live in a taiga biome, which by this game's definition, is a forest with large hills. Do you know what else likes to live in the taiga? Direwolves. So I thought, let's put an oviraptor and some direwolves in the same exhibit. After all, we've got stegosauruses and triceratopses sharing a pen, and they seem to get along fine. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, what a fool I was. I built the exhibit right next to the bathrooms, which I named the Mountains of Hunger. Erected some hills, planted some trees, then hatched 2 direwolves, plus an oviraptor named Delilah. And just as I expected, everything turned out great! For about 30 minutes. As it turns out, the direwolves were actually kind of chill. They didn't at all mind having a scaly roommate that was half of their size. But Delilah was a spiteful little cupcake that had no mate, refused to eat, and did not at all like how the wolves smelled. So she decided that it was a good idea for her to constantly attack the wolves at every opportunity. When I initially noticed that Delilah was starving, I thought that she was upset because, for whatever reason, she couldn't eat her meals of steak-shaped insects from the ribcage feeder that I had set up for her. So I deleted it and replaced it with a generic feeder instead. That did not dissuade Delilah from assaulting her roommates, so I had to step in and shoot her with a tranquilizer gun. I thought that maybe if I moved Delilah to the other side of the pen, she would be inclined to stick to her own area and would be less likely to harass the other direwolves. And she immediately started harassing the wolves again. Beautiful. Clearly, I had to take drastic measures. I erected a mountain range to divide the pen in half, hoping that the impassable terrain would deter her. Immediately, she found that the mountains were not as impassable as I had hoped.
She's not. She better not. She better not. She better not.
I was left with no choice but to build a wall of concrete to seal Delilah off from the wolves for good. Unfortunately, I missed a spot right here at the edge of the lot, which she immediately beelined for. Once I had patched up the hole, Delilah had no choice but to take her anger out on the walls of the enclosure, which my janitors diligently repaired. With that, I declared the oviraptor problem resolved and turned my focus to setting up the next exhibit, which would be dedicated to one of the most important additions to our Dinosaur Zoo: giant capybaras. I don't think I even need to justify this decision, so I'm not going to. However, while I was setting up the Mountains of Hunger earlier, I received a new quest in the form of a challenge. A Parkasaurus challenge, if you will. For this challenge, I needed a Gastonia, which is a cousin of the Ankylosaurus. The Gastonia's preferred terrain is the prairie, while the capybara likes the savanna. Both biomes are similar in that they require the same sand terrain, and you can decorate them with the same types of foliage and stone. The main difference is that the savanna is flat, which I understand for some people might be a bit of a turnoff. I had no reason to say it like that. Nevertheless, I'm going to make a very bold decision.
You want a prairie. We're going to put you in a savanna because we are cruel and evil.
For reasons that made sense to me at the time, I decided to have the Gastonias and the capybaras share the same savanna exhibit, which would come to be known as the Capybara Corner. Now, that name would be a bit awkward if I didn't have any capybaras in the park, so while I'm waiting for this portal to open so that I can collect more prehistoric fossils, let's turn our attention back to the Mammoth Sausage Party. Theo is now a fully grown adult. And you know what that means? He can wear hats now! Why is this important? Well, first of all, hats can increase a dino's appeal rating, which can attract more visitors to the park, meaning more money will be sent to my bank account. But some hats have some very interesting abilities. If you give any dino or prehistoric animal a set of bunny ears or a Viking helmet, it'll cause them to swap gender. Please do not ask me how it works, I have no clue. I mean, sure, in Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs were able to switch thanks to a genetic trait that they had inherited from the frog that was used as a base during the resurrection process, but they didn't need to put on Playboy bunny ears, I'm just saying. I don't know where I'm going with this. The point is, Theo is a girl now, and she has a mate, and they are happy. Just accept it. Of course, forcing dinos to transition isn't the only thing hats can do. Remember a minute ago when we established that the Gastonia prefers the prairie over the savannah? Well, once they've grown up, we can give them a pair of cool glasses, which will completely rewire their brain, making them believe that the savannah is the ideal habitat for them after all. You can also give a Kimmy hat to an angry dino like Delilah, and she'll become much more docile. Never mind, her badness level is far too high to be fixed with a simple hat. By the way, you can also give hats to your employees to improve their productivity. That's good to keep in mind if you have bags full of Viking helmets and don't want to turn all of your dinos gay. Though it does raise the question, what exactly is in these hats that enables them to alter one's body and mind to such a degree? The only explanation I can come up with for it is by awkwardly stitching in a funny anime reference. Going back to work, I decided to build a food court in this area, with a bunch of gazebos next to the burger joint. And then, because I am a terrible, horrible person, I had the terrible, horrible idea of forcing my guests to eat healthy by replacing the hamburger buns with tomato slices.
Why is the ball out here?
You threw the pumpkin all the way out here! Good news! I hatched a giant capybara in the capybara corner. Also, I've got enough Gastonia donations to complete the quest. Oh! I got some cool glasses for free! Bad news, my next quest requires that I collect donations for a Brachiosaurus. And wouldn't you know it, the Brachiosaurus's preferred habitat is a prairie. Alright, fine, I'll give you a prairie. I'm just going to place it right next to the capybara corner, for no reason in particular. I replaced your bun with tomato. Because you took your burger to the bathroom? Excuse me? Why would you do that? That is absolutely disgusting. After setting up more gazebos, I upgraded my park gates, allowing more guests to enter the park at once. Whoa. Then I started work on my next exhibit, a huge aquarium next to the food court that I had affectionately named The Tank. While I was constructing The Tank, I had a specific vision in mind. I would build a walkway going over The Tank, which would connect to an island in the center, which would act as a natural observation platform. Technically it's man-made, but it looks natural. So during our first winter, it's winter! Hooray! I constructed a walkway, erected an island, used a park employee to test it, filled the tank with water, realized that the wall at the edge of the property is very bad at keeping water in, dug a deep hole, accidentally flooded the food court, oh no! Dug a deeper hole, sculpted a ramp so that the veterinarians can enter the tank because they can't swim, I guess, dumped more water in, planted some extremely tall kelp plants, which is why I dug the hole so deep, as well as plenty of coral and volcanic rocks, gathered some aquatic fossils, and then I wanted to get a megalodon, but I hadn't done enough research to unlock it yet. So instead, I hatched some Dunkleosteuses. What's a Dunkleosteus? Oh, it's a rather unremarkable species of extinct fish that no one really cares about. I mean, its only noteworthy point of discussion is that it was one of the first ever apex predators to have a physical spine. Then I set up a banana stand to potentially attract any banana lovers. Oh, banana! And the tank was completed. Except there was one slight problem. For whatever reason, no one wanted to use the walkway. My best guess as to why is because the support beams are underwater, the guests considered the entire walkway to be underwater, making it inaccessible, which is stupid. So I was going to record some footage of people not walking over this walkway so that I'd have something in the background. But as you can see, there are people walking over the walkway without any problem whatsoever. This is a sandbox map that I created to get this extra footage. Don't worry about the notification. So I guess we can just forget everything I said in the past 60 seconds or so about people not walking on this. I don't know what's wrong with the tank. Also, the fish got stuck on the side of the island.
Okay, I think this whole island thing is just causing too much trouble than it's worth.
With my dreams crushed, I had no choice but to remove the island. But I kept the walkway, even if no one was using it. Alright, now what's next? Well, earlier, the game offered me a challenge that required obtaining a Lambeosaurus. I looked at the letter and thought to myself, who the fluffy French toast cares about the Lambeosaurus? And rejected the challenge. Then the same challenge popped up the next day. I rejected it again. Then it popped up a third time. I realized that this game wasn't going to take a hint, so I reluctantly accepted the challenge. Spoiler alert, this quest will not be completed by the end of this playthrough. But that isn't to say that I didn't make an honest effort. I built the Lambeosaurus exhibit right next to the tank, placed an information booth near the entrance that guided visitors to the Lambeosaurus exhibit, and I even went so far as to set up a shop that sold paintings created by the dinosaurs in the park, which you'd think would be a gold mine. And even so, nobody came to buy a painting, much less look at the Lambeosauruses. Shout out to Zandit for openly admitting to have stolen all of the ketchup packs. You are now banned from both my park and my YouTube channel. You could make the argument that for a while the only way to access the exhibit was by using the walkway over the tank, which we've already established. No one wanted to set foot on that thing. And even after I built another path, you still had to walk to the other side of the park, which no one wanted to do that. However, I've come to the conclusion that simply no one cares about the Lambeosaurus. One time, I noticed that the feeder was empty, and I noticed that none of the vets were filling it, because, again, other side of the park. So I grabbed one vet and told him to patrol the area around the Lambeosaurus exhibit, hoping that he would prioritize them above all else. He did not. Even my own chat started calling it the Lamosaurus. Nobody liked these things, and I get the feeling that you're not really a big fan of them either. So we're going to move on to something far more interesting. My scientists have been diligently performing their research, and I've been gradually climbing the tech tree. I still haven't unlocked Tier 4 dinosaurs, but I could demolish all of those horrible smelly outhouses and replace them with nice, clean, proper bathrooms. Yes, this is much more interesting than whatever we were talking about before. But sometime before that happened, I received another quest. The description was very vague. So I accepted it, you know, like how a confused elderly woman clicks the link in a scam email. And now I need 30,000 Dino Appeal. Fantastic. Dino Appeal is very simple. The more dinosaurs you have and the higher tier they are, the higher the score. As I've established earlier, we can boost Dino Appeal by giving hats to our dinos. But that's not going to be enough. We need to step up our game. We need themed exhibits. To create a themed exhibit, the obvious first step is to select a theme. Once that's done, you need to ensure that the exhibit meets the following conditions. 1. The exhibit needs to be large enough to accommodate all of the dinosaurs that are inside. 2. The exhibit needs to contain a healthy amount of trees, bushes, and rocks. I do want to mention that depending on your biome, these terms can be a bit loosely defined. Finally, 3. The third condition. This is different depending on whatever theme you're trying to evoke. In this case, I'm converting the ancient hills in the center of the park into a prehistoric exhibit. To do that, I need to plant some prehistoric flora, which I happen to have unlocked earlier. Since the ancient hills is a muddy tundra, here's a complete list of what's available to me. Beautiful, elegant magnolias, and the ugliest looking tree I've ever laid my eyes on. Yeah, that's it. There! Now that I have some authentic ancient flowers and some weird-looking trees, I can declare the ancient hills to be a prehistoric exhibit. That wasn't so hard. Except just kidding, there's one more requirement. You need to install the relevant theme item inside the exhibit, which costs $50,000. This ludicrous price tag is the sole reason why themed exhibits are almost exclusively relegated to late game. Because most campaign missions have a par time of 3 to 5 days, unless you're playing the same park for more than an in-game year, you will probably never get to build any themed exhibits. Fortunately, my park is a year old now. Have your park operating for 1 year, let's go! And I have a lot of money, so let's go ahead and blow it all on installing an active volcano. Now that the Ancient Hills is officially themed, here's what we get out of it. First of all, dinos in the Ancient Hills will have 30% more appeal, which can be a massive boost towards our overarching goal, especially if there's a bunch of high-tier dinos in the exhibit. Secondly, dinos inside of a prehistoric exhibit are rendered immune to all manner of disease. This is very convenient, because sick dinos are unhappy dinos that you need to spend money on to make them not sick. I do want to point out, however, that prehistoric animals such as the mammoth and the capybara appear to be innately immune. Clearly, the developers at Washbear Studio have done their research on these animals and have come to the simple conclusion that they are genetically superior to all life forms, and humanity driving them to extinction was an irredeemable mistake that Mother Nature won't soon let us forget. Or they just forgot to add prehistoric animals to the medicine chart. Oh, and this third effect? That's just purely cosmetic. It has no effect on gameplay. Looks cool though. Overall, I declare the prehistoric theme to be B tier. Yes, we're doing a tier list on themed exhibits, because why not? On the topic of improving the exhibits, there's this big empty space in the corner next to the entrance, and I've come up with an idea on how to use it. If I were to bulldoze this pathway and replace it with an elevated walkway, I could expand the Rainforest of Hope into this area, giving us more space to potentially add more dinos, while also giving guests a really cool view of the exhibit. So that's what I did. The result? It was as cool as I expected it to be. It got even cooler when I later installed a Wizard's Tower to make the Forest of Hope into a magical exhibit. The requirements for this theme are very simple. If the exhibit contains only herbivores, then you can make it into a magical exhibit. After you've installed the tower, it'll begin spawning fireflies, which look pretty, and it'll magically reduce the amount of food that dinos need to sate their appetite. That sounds pretty good, and very easy to do. If you're a nerd keeping track of how much food all of your dinos are eating. But I'm lazy. I just order a bunch of food to be delivered to my front door every morning, and then I forget about it until my dinosaurs are starving because I don't have enough food to feed them. That said, the magical theme is still very easy to set up with little to no drawback. I'm giving it A tier. Once I was done with the Forest of Hope, however, some interesting problems began to pop up. When I laid down some new path tiles, any nearby surrounding path tiles would activate dark mode. I thought that was weird, but I had no idea what it meant, so I ignored it. Then I noticed that every exhibit in the park was getting $0 in donations, except for the Forest of Hope. I thought that was an odd bug, but as long as I'm still making money, who cares? Then a notification popped up, saying that the Mountains of Hunger was completely inaccessible to guests, which anyone with eyes can tell you is fake news. Then I clicked on the wall of an exhibit to try and select it, and I selected the entire rest of the park instead. That's when I figured out what was wrong. When I had extended the Forest of Hope so that you couldn't walk around it, I had cut off this entire area from the park entrance. So the game was treating it as an exhibit for all extensive purposes, never mind that there was a bridge. Once again, my artistic vision is being thwarted by arbitrary laws and restrictions that any normal person would find questionable. Fortunately, there's an easy fix this time that lets me have my cake and eat it too. All I had to do was add a one-tile space between the Forest of Hope and the edge of the park, and everything was fine. By the way, you might have noticed that up until now, I've been exclusively using glass walls for all of my exhibits. These were introduced in the Sea Monster expansion, and their main purpose is to hold water in place so that you can build aquatic exhibits. But there's no reason why you can't use them to build exhibits for land-dwelling dinos as well. In fact, you should do that, because glass walls have notably better stats than the basic wooden fence, despite costing the same price. This is a phenomenon that we in the business refer to as power creep. The only downside of glass walls is that the only doors you can use with them are these special watertight doors, because if you install any other type of door, it will freak out. Speaking of walls, I gave the Brachiosauruses some cool glasses, and then I tore down the wall that was preventing them from interacting with the capybaras and Gastonias. Looking back, I had no reason to do this, but During the renovations, my cash reserves had replenished to the point that I could afford to make another themed exhibit. So I planted a spooky tree in the middle of the tank, making it a spooky exhibit. Spooky exhibits are extremely simple to make. All you need is an exhibit that contains only carnivores. No leaf lovers allowed! Yes, that was a reference to Deep Rock Galactic. Once you've planted the spooky tree, it'll start spewing a thick fog that, once inhaled, will start planting subliminal messages, enticing visitors to donate more money. This is a straight upgrade that requires almost zero effort. If you have a pit of saber-toothed tigers, you might as well make it a spooky pit. Any other choice requires some extracurricular work and is arguably not as good. S tier. No further explanation required. After that, I looked over at Delilah in her little pen, and I kind of felt bad for her. Having no one to socialize with while hairless apes stand on the other side of the glass and stare at her, all alone inside of this fabricated environment. Sure, she may have had a few behavioral issues, but I think at the very least, she deserves a mate. So I went out and bought another oviraptor egg. After I placed it, I realized that the hatchling was going to be another female oviraptor. So I gave Delilah a Viking helmet and called it a day. Truth be told, I can only imagine Delilah doing horrible, horrible things to that hatchling. So horrible that I would rather not animate any of it. But as long as she isn't trying to break out of her neck of the woods, I am going to turn a blind eye. By this point, I thought the park was shaping up nicely. We were making money, all of the dinos were happy, and there was still plenty of space to expand. I had plenty of options for new dinosaurs to introduce. So many that I was suffering from choice paralysis. So I decided to consult the dino book, and it said that I should get a Styracosaurus. I have no idea what that is. Let's do it. As I was setting up a new exhibit right next to Delilah's place, I had the idea to give it the Eden theme. And before I continue, let me just say, if you are not doing this to get the achievement, then this move is a huge mistake. Why, you might ask? Well, to establish an Eden exhibit, there must not be a single point from which a guest could observe the dinos inside. That alone qualifies the Eden exhibit for an immediate F tier, because if the guests can't see over this waist-high hedge to watch the dinos, then they won't give any donations, so caring for Schrodinger's dinosaurs becomes a hole in your pocket. Also, be prepared to wake up to a notification signaling that guests can't look inside the exhibit that's labeled "Don't Look Here" every morning, as if that wasn't the whole point of this entire operation. But what perks do you get from having an Eden exhibit? Surely they're worth the cost of upkeep, right? Well, after you plant the mother tree, it'll start spawning rainbows. Oh, a rainbow! And the required happiness to breed dinosaurs in the exhibit will be reduced from 90% to 70%. Boy! If you can afford the Eden tree, you should have the resources necessary to improve the exhibit enough to make your dinos very happy. I'm sorry, folks, but being able to host a pride parade in your park is just not worth it. F tier. Do it for the achievement, then tear it all down. My scientists have been diligently working on collecting more research points, but for me,
they're not working fast enough.
Clearly, we're going to have to step up our game by exploiting my paying customers. Which is why I've installed this structure near the entrance, plus a second one right after the bridge over the forest. To an average viewer, these may appear to be nothing more than fancy abstract art installations, but in truth, these are nefarious traps that drain the brainpower of anyone who walks under them, converting their shreds of intelligence and creativity into scientific research. And the way that they are positioned makes it so that every park goer is pretty much guaranteed to walk under both of them, meaning I'm harvesting at least 2 servings of brainpower from every single guest that enters my park. In theory. Truth be told, I'm not actually sure if these things are working half the time, but I've already sunk $20,000 into them, so I'll just take whatever I can get from these.
Shake the can. Shake the can! Watch this.
Shh. To decide on what exhibit I should build next, I consulted the Dino book again, and I noticed that I needed only one more dinosaur to complete this page. A gigantic Spinosaurus. Alright, let's just add that to Don't Look Here. Now, I'm hoping that I'm not alone in this train of thought, but with a name like Gigant Spinosaurus, you'd assume that it was a large dinosaur, right? Wrong! In this game, it is small, tiny even.
It's tiny! It's a baby! Mini!
The reason why it's called Gigant Spinosaurus is because of the gigantic spike plates growing out of its back along its spine. Go figure. Actually, you know what? It being a small dinosaur, despite having 75% of the word gigantic in its name, is ironically hilarious. Kind of like how the incredibly deadly viper is actually completely harmless. After all, the Gigant Spinosaurus only grew as big as 4.2 meters in length? That's about the size of a car! Are we sure that this is a small dinosaur? Heck, the in-game Dinopedia says that it grows up to 6 meters! I mean, yeah, I know that the dinosaurs get really big, but usually when I think of a small dinosaur, I think of the Velociraptor, which is about 2 meters in length and only grows up to about the height of your kneecaps. Not whatever the heck this is! Alright, I need to calm down now. Let's get some more capybaras and put them in the ancient hills, because I can. This made me feel good. But what made me feel even better was when I turned to the final page in the Dino book and realized that I had already completed it, which rewarded me with a single epic gem for free. Without hesitation, I ran to the barn and purchased a T-Rex egg, because I firmly believe that no dinosaur zoo worth its salt is complete without a T-Rex. If you don't understand why, then you don't get it. I'm sorry, you might as well just click off the video. Wait, don't actually close it! I need the ad revenue! Anyways, here's a T-Rex pet that I built for little baby Otis. As you can see, I've opted to use carbon wire fencing instead of the glass walls that I've been so adamant about up until now. Why, you might ask? First of all, I'm rich. I can do what I want. Ignore that I'm currently $295 in debt. But more importantly, I plan to make this a security-themed exhibit. The security theme requires that the exhibit has maximum strength walls. And unfortunately, glass walls, despite my love for them, don't quite have the level of durability as the fences in Jurassic Park. Wait, I just remembered. Those fences were electric, and these aren't. And the T-Rex in the film was able to break out when the power went down. As long as we keep it fed, I'm sure it's fine.
Look at Otis just reaching, clipping through the wire fence. Oh no, your pumpkin! Otis, your pumpkin!
Once you've set up the exhibit and installed a security camera, the fences here will become completely unbreakable, meaning you don't have to worry about any angry dinos breaking out and going on a rampage, which is especially good in this particular case, because higher tier dinos can break out very easily if they are not happy. What's more, the theme's cosmetic effect is actually very useful. Now we have an alarm that'll go off anytime a dino breaks out anywhere in the park, or anytime someone glitches out of bounds. The Dino book also gave me a Spinosaurus egg, which is basically the Shrek equivalent of the T-Rex. So I built the Spinosaurus pen right next to the T-Rex pen, and I decided to make it a security exhibit as well. Kind of silly in retrospect, you only really need one security exhibit. But nevertheless, the alarm is a nice little feature to have. I hereby grant Security Breach the honor of B tier. Oh, and just an FYI, I planted this scary pumpkin, so from this point forward, some of the guests in my park will include members of the undead horde. Turns out, ghosts and ghouls are as fascinated with dinosaurs as we are. Speaking of plants, I've gone ahead and converted the capybara corner into an organic exhibit, which is our 6th and final theme. The requirements for this theme are very simple. The amount of trees, bushes, and rocks in the exhibit must be exactly right. It's not hard, just add or remove things until all 3 bars are green. And then you need to place this windmill. Once that's done, all dinos in the exhibit will no longer poop. No, they're not constipated, they just stopped pooping. You might think that not having to deal with dinosaur poop is a good thing. If that is the case, you have clearly never studied in the field of medical science. Neither have I chose to study video games instead. But I can briefly explain to you why no poop is bad actually. Every so often, your veterinarians will routinely enter the exhibits to care for the dinosaurs and clean up after them. Sometimes they'll find a pile of poop that is not poop-colored. When that happens, it means one of your dinosaurs is sick and needs medical attention. Tangentially related, but this game really needs toggles to hide and click through scenery, because it is near impossible to find and select a single dinosaur so that you can provide it medical treatment when it's hiding under several large trees. Once you've found the poop, you can use the medicine chart, which I alluded to earlier, to identify the illness by the color of the poop plus whatever other symptoms your dino is suffering. If you can provide them with the correct medical treatment, the dino will be instantly cured and everyone will be happy. Without the poop, you'll have no alerts whatsoever, so you'll have to check on the health of your dinos yourself. What's more, when you do find someone that's sick, you may end up in a situation where you'll have to either prescribe them with generic treatment and wait for them to get better, or blindly guess that the correct treatment is either herbal medicine, high-intensity lasers, or ritual magic. On top of all of that, if you're playing a scenario map, you can get a buff that lets you sell dinosaur poop for a little extra cash. Point is, the fact that this game at all considers no poop to be a good thing, it absolutely disgusts me. I just remembered that my friends once called me the poop expert for whatever reason, and now once I publish this video, I will never be able to live that down. After all of that, I was over halfway to 30,000 dino appeal, and I was starting to run out of space where I can build. But, thanks to some backroom deals, I finally have enough research points to unlock the ability to purchase epic gems, meaning I can freely purchase whatever tier 4 dinos I want, which should ramp up my dino appeal like crazy. Behold! A bunch of dinosaur names I'm going to say in one take and probably get horribly wrong. Mamenchisaurus, Ornithormeus, Hadrosaurus, my fish got stuck in the wall, Orange Juice, Cosmoceratops, Upgrade to Lab, Short-Faced Bear, a kid's play area, which is definitely not a scrapyard, the Megalodon! I put these big boy sharks in the tank, thinking that they'd get along with the school of Dunkleostices. Apparently, I was hoping for too much, because neither the Dunkly-Doos nor the Megalodons play nice with one another. In retrospect, maybe forcing the introverted predators to live with a group of extroverts was a bad idea. Also, someone please explain to me why I'm unable to shoot this fish despite me aiming directly at it. In fact, I'm actually hitting the baby Megalodon underneath.
What are these hitboxes?
So, just like with the Mountains of Hunger, I had no choice but to split the tank in half. Finally, in the space right next to the bear pit, I set up a pen for the Sarcosuchus, which is basically a prehistoric crocodile. And once I had hatched a second croc, I had reached 30,000 dino appeal. Woo! And completed the quest. The relief that I felt in this moment was short-lived, as I soon remembered that in order to beat Tycoon Mode, I needed 50,000 dino appeal. And this is awkward, but I didn't have anywhere else to build because all of my remaining space has been filled with dodo birds and turtles that I bought purely for emotional fulfillment. So, how are we supposed to gain those last 20,000 points if we don't have space to build any more dinosaur exhibits? Obviously, we're just going to keep adding more dinosaurs until we're short of hitting critical mass. First, I added as many Mamenchisaurus eggs as I could to the Forest of Hope before it got too crowded. Then I added more Dunkly-Doos to the tank. I even gave some of them scuba goggles to reduce their required living space. What else do you think scuba goggles are for? Breathing underwater? They're fish! They don't need that. Then, I looked at my food court and I thought, you know what? This food court is a bit bigger than it needs to be. So I bulldozed some of my gazebos to make room for a pit full of seaweed, which became home to a pair of one-eyed placoduses. Placoduses? Placodusi? These lizards, I don't know what to call them. Then I came up with another, rather creative solution. I spent $30,000 on unicorn horns, which I gave to each of these 3 turtles. This caused the turtles to reconsider their lifestyle, and they came to the conclusion that Shrek's swamp is a far more ideal home than a beachfront paradise. This step wasn't strictly necessary, but it did make them much more receptive to the idea of converting Turtle Beach into Shellback Swamp. I then placed 2 Amphisauruses in Shellback Swamp, which made the area a bit cramped for everyone's liking, but after I gave the amps pretty bows and extended the living area a little, weirdly, the problem went away. I took another look at the T-Rex pen and the Spinosaurus pen, and I realized that both of them were much larger than they needed to be. If I cut both pens in half, I could have 2 more exhibits with more dinos in them. So I split the pens in half, and I used the new space to show off the Euplocephalus, I give up on this, next to the T-Rexes, and the Mosasaurus next to the Spinosauruses. I noticed that I had these cowboy hats, which gave a lot of points, so I handed them out to any dino that needed to cover their bald spot. You're stupid! The Wolf Range and Delilah's Forest have a bunch of free space. Let's get rid of the mountain range dividing these 2 exhibits and replace it with saber-toothed tigers. I converted every exhibit that wasn't already themed into either spooky or magical, because that required no additional effort. I forced many dinosaurs to wear umbrella hats and bow ties in order to make room for more Tier 4 dinos. I bred dodo birds until their exhibit was too crowded, and then I realized that Minnie, the Gigantospinosaurus that I had dumped in the unperceivable corner, didn't have a mate. So I gave her a Shota.
There we go. We are above 50,000 park appeal.
A few seconds later, the achievement popped. There! I got the achievement! Dinosaur Tycoon, complete the Dinosaur Tycoon challenge! Let's go! Signaling that my challenge was complete. And that is how I became one of the, as of this writing, less than 1% of players on Steam that have beaten Dino Tycoon Mode. I think. But I don't know, it feels like something's missing from this whole experience. I mean, we made our own little bootleg Jurassic Park, and not once in this entire video did the dinosaurs break out and wreak havoc, resulting in me having to fight every single dino in the park. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe all I wanted was a chill Dinosaur Zoo game, and maybe this is all that this needs to be. So before I end the video, let's wrap it up with a tour of the final version of the park, set to some relaxing music. What happened? I'm sorry, I kinda spaced out for a moment. I guess I should probably clean this mess up. But before I do that, I'm gonna take a quick nap in the barn. Don't mind me, chickens. I've just had a long day and I need to get some rest before I start working on the next video, whatever that may be. I don't know why I felt the need to sleep here of all places, but now that I'm here, this hay feels so soft. Huh? What's going on? Where am I? What's going on? Why is that chicken green? What? Where am I? Where am I? Hello, everyone. If you're hearing this message, it means you've made it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I had fun putting it together. I don't like promoting myself, I'm gonna be honest, but I do need to put my foot out some more, so if you want to see more videos like this, consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. It really means a lot to me. I also upload random stick figure shorts, largely related to Uma Musume, because I guess that's what I do now. And I stream on both Twitch and YouTube at least twice a week. And sometimes I upload random stuff like this. You fool! If any of that sounds cool, you can subscribe for that too. Last thing, for anyone who's interested, I'm opening up memberships on my channel. For only $1 a month, or $1.50 if you live in Canada, I will list your name at the end of my videos from here on out. That applies to both the animatics and the longer form videos like this one. You'll also get access to these two emotes that I made myself. I want to have more, but this was all I could think of right now. If you have any suggestions as to what I should add, I would not mind hearing them. And that's it. That's all I've got to say. I'm gonna go work on my next video, which is going to be about our grand concerts. I know I teased Minecraft at the end, but I need to actually get the footage for that video first. And I promise we'll come back to Major Odober eventually, okay? Just give me some time. With all the different projects I'm working on, I bit off more than I could chew. Alright, that's it, for real. Bye.